That was the most vulgar, the most crude, the dirtiest Snatch game I have ever seen. But it was also one of the most hilarious ones in any franchise. Even Mama Pa was like, that was the best Snatch game in Drag Race Philippines history. And it was! I've watched a lot of Snatch games from all over the Drag Race universe, and dare I say, that was one of the craziest and probably one of the best. Story time, I was doing my makeup while watching the episode because I had to film this video, and I had to redo my eye makeup like 20 times because I was tearing up laughing every like 2 minutes. Now I know that a lot of people who watch Drag Race Philippines aren't Filipino or aren't the best Tagalog speakers, but the level of Snatch game that we have witnessed in this episode, you guys have got to understand. So I really want to explain to you guys the references, the Snatch game characters, the jokes, and why they're so effective and why they work so well, because I really want the entire world to appreciate the masterclass that this Snatch game is.
Snatch Game KNB! Snatch Game!
So it's time for DragSplaining Philippines! As always, spoilers ahead. So if you don't want to like ruin the fantasy, click away. Get back to us later. So the girls return to the workroom after Yodipota's self-elimination, and I, for one, am still reeling from that really painful moment. What's very evident is there is still tension between a lot of the queens versus Jquinn. Because when you watch that lip sync back, a lot of them were rooting for Yodipota, and clearly they were very disappointed with what happened. And when Jquinn was like, regardless, I was gonna stay anyway.
I did give a good show and I would have been safe anyway.
Some of the queens did not agree.
Para wala na rin problema, Jquinn, huwi ka na din. Huwi ka na, be!
But honestly, I love the delusion. That's the energy you should go in when competing on a show like Drag Race, so you better work. That energy, though, carried over to the new day in the workroom because the sparks were flying, and I don't mean in a romantic way.
Kasi kilala kita. Hindi yan yung nakikita ko sa'yo outside of this competition, girl.
Nakikita mo lang naman ako pa nagtitip ako sa inyo sa rapture.
Hindi ka nga nag... Oh my gosh!
More like metal grinding sparks. I don't know metal grinding stuff. I'm an F word. Jquinn, of course, defended herself and was like, "What are you talking about, girl? I'm the one giving you tips at Rapture." Side note, Rapture is this really fun drag bar in Cubao, Quezon City. Arizona Brandy is a queen from that bar. And that bar is actually known for like baklang kanal, really wacky, really Filipino drag. But anyway, that tension had to somehow evaporate because it was time for the mini challenge. I am obsessed with this mini challenge because it is all about notebooks. Now, most of the world might not understand what this notebook challenge is, so let me explain. So during the 90s and especially like 2000s, notebooks for students like me when I was growing up were sold with like covers of celebrities in these really over-designed notebook covers. It was full of color. The celebrities are wearing like colorful, extravagant outfits, and the graphic design was as maximalist as you can get.
Very 90s notebook na parang meron siyang marami nangyayari in the layout.
Back to the future.
It's actually had a revival. It's become this Instagram aesthetic for a while here in the Philippines, and I think it caught on to the rest of the world. The challenge was fabulous. Honestly, that mini challenge, everyone did well. I didn't see a bad photo, but also BJ Pascual takes really good pictures. And whoever did the graphics, they have captured the essence. And then Mama Pao makes the all-important announcement. Snatch Game KNB!
Game KNB!
I love that John Santos was the one doing the rounds with the girls for Snatch Game because She is impersonator extraordinaire. John Santos knows how to embody any character because she's spent decades doing that. When the girls were like explaining their options for Snatch Game, it got me really excited because I was hearing a lot of Filipino characters. Overall, I really enjoyed this Snatch Game because every single queen was interacting. Well, not every single queen, but a lot of them were interacting and really volleying. That's, I think, the reason why it's one of the most iconic Snatch Games across the entire franchise. So I'm gonna run down every single Snatch Game character so you all, the world, can understand who each character is and how effective the queens were in interpreting their chosen character. Because my head is still throbbing from all of that energy. Before that though, let's talk about Echarri. This week's guest judge is actor, singer, and as they said, current it boy in Philippine showbiz, Echarri. Obviously a very good-looking young man. He's been everywhere from TV shows to movies. He's touring because he's also a singer. And he actually got his career started by being on the kids edition of The Voice here in the Philippines. And fun fact, his coach when he competed was none other than Geronimo, which Popster bench actually did for Snatch Game.
Kyle, ayusin mo ha. Remember, I'm your coach.
Snatch Game KNB!
Jquinn chose to do Confucius. Okay, this really does not need any explaining. You all know who Confucius is. As Jquinn explained in the show, she was raised in a very Chinese background. Chinese heritage people here in the Philippines, we call them Chinoys, are very superstitious. Some of the older ones do mention a lot of like words of wisdom. So I was wondering when all of that was gonna come in with Jquinn doing this character. Because apart from like having this like ancient Chinese accent, I really don't know what the Confucius character was bringing to the Snatch Game panel. Like I remember when Monet Exchange did Maya Angelou on season 10 of Drag Race US. Maya Angelou is a literary icon, so Monet was coming up with poems or quotes the entire time. Jquinn could have gone that route. Plus, it would have been funny if like through the process of coming up with these quotes, she was playing a very confused Confucius. Now here's Zymba Ding as Miss Wilma Doesnt. When I heard that Zymba was doing Wilma Doesnt, I had really high hopes because she's very funny. Wilma is a Filipino celebrity who first got her start with being a supermodel of the 90s. Wilma, on top of being very like visually stunning, the woman's a model. She's also very, very funny.
May habagat ba? Kulimlim. Wow, sa'yo din talaga nanggaling. Oo nga.
So she's done a lot of hosting. She's done a lot of comedy. So Zymba really had so much to pull from. Like Wilma Doesnt used to be a judge on the Filipino version of Top Model. Zymba could have pulled from that. Like a person was giving notes on people's runway. I don't think Zymba did her best during this challenge. Chanel went the route of Rufa Quinto. I don't think Chanel was the worst in this challenge. She did have funny moments, but like Eva the Queen just did so well as Rufa May on season 1. I don't think anybody would ever top that.
Hi guys, my name is Rufa May Quinto, also known as Quinto Rufa May.
And I know it's 2024, let bygones be bygones, but I still feel like Eva should have won Snatch Game that season. But that was the level that Eva the Queen gave. It's hard to stand up to that. And kudos to Mix for exploring that territory. But clearly, the risk didn't pay off.
Wala kang kwentang mabuhay pa. Mamatay ka na.
I can't blame Mix though, because let's talk about Rufa May Quinto. She really is the perfect Snatch Game character. But what makes her popular is her mannerisms and her quotable quotes, because this girl lives in her own world.
Ganun.
Khianna did Baron Geisler. This is such an interesting choice because for me personally, on paper, I would have been like, what? But at the same time, Baron Geisler does have a lot of moments on TV. Baron is an actor in the Philippines who started out as a teenage actor who, in his adulthood, had a, let's just say, a very colorful career. So he's known for his era of erratic behavior.
actor Baron Geisler was arrested after he allegedly punched his neighbor in Quezon City.
I think the character that Khianna picked was the Baron Geisler when he did Big Brother here in the Philippines. When he competed on the celebrity edition of Big Brother, he just was very, very wild. Khianna as Baron going crazy looking for sabaw.
Asan ang sabaw? Nasa sabaw.
Sabaw is like soup or broth.
Nasa ng sabaw? Nasa ng sabaw?
One of the funniest lines that I've heard was from Popster Ben.
Kasi mahihiyan niyo po ako eh.
Ay,
Pasensya na po ha.
Umiihi lang ako sa Balete.
One point in his career, he was accused of urinating on a fellow actor during filming a movie. Now, if I remember it correctly, there was a scene in the movie that it was supposed to be simulated, and the accusation was he actually relieved himself for real. No, but he's doing a lot better now. Good for him. And honestly, a really good redemption story. Bench chose, of course, Sarah Geronimo. Now, if you're from Asia, you know how much of a superstar Sarah G is. I don't want to talk too much about Sarah G because we have explained who she is during the first episode. Popstar Bench is a Sarah G impersonator, and she does a really good job at it. She did come up short in the Snatch game to my surprise. I feel like there were a lot of things about Sarah. I feel like there were a lot of choices that Bench made that were not very Sarah G.
Suso Superstar. Gusto ko rin po talagang magpadagdag ng suso. Kasi gusto ko rin pong makasama sa BOBae.
So Sarah G is known for being this really wholesome, very family-oriented, family-friendly kind of superstar. And so it was really shocking to me that Bench at one point said that Sarah wanted bigger boobs. I feel like Bench was also doing a lot of versions of Sarah G. And I feel like she would have benefited if she just honed in on one facet of Sarah G. But I will say Bench did volley with everyone really well. This is a funny one. Maxie as Bob, aka Babae sa Balete Drive. In Filipino horror folklore, we believe in these beings. And one of them is the White Lady. I guess White Lady is like similar to like the Onryo. It's the spirit of a dead lady seeking revenge, who is always in bloody white garb. And the babae sa Balete Drive, in English, the woman in Balete Drive, is an urban legend because Balete Drive in Manila City has been known to be a very scary road to go through because they say that that white lady shows up there, especially when drivers are alone. It was named Balete Drive because it was full of balete trees, and in Filipino culture, we believe that those trees are home to spirits. There are many versions of the urban legend, and Maxie's approach to make her this like slut whore ghost is just so effing funny.
Nakikita mo ko? Tangina mo, nakainom ka na naman.
And for us to see her as this like funny, ditzy employee of the Grim Reaper, leave it to Maxie to think of something like that. Tita Baby as Kamatayan. Kamatayan is the Filipino version of the Grim Reaper, the personification of death. We don't know how Kamatayan behaves. In this version, she is a businesswoman. She's this yassified, business-savvy, white-faced ghost. And I think the interaction with Maxie as the White Lady is so funny because she is Tita Baby's employee.
Ewan ko ba dito sa sekretarya ko bakit nandito ito eh?
Andito pala yung boss ko, sorry.
Oo, punyeta ka.
When she called her a secretary, I was crying, laughing. I feel like for this one, Tita Baby was the best at interacting with everybody. When someone speaks to her, she has a response that's really, really funny. Or when she initiates something, they would also respond to her. And if it was not a good response, she would save it.
Wilma, it doesn't matter.
Mas magandang post dyan. May mas maganda akong post. Gayahin mo to ha. Gawin mo.
You guys don't understand. When Tita Baby said,
Nagsisisi ako, nabuhok lang ang pinatay ko dyan.
I was crying. I was doing my eyeliner and I had to redo everything because tears were running down my face. And then she had to get political because the picture that she showed was of a politician who is like, I don't know, 100 years old. Now, this politician doesn't have the best reputation among people online particularly. And so there are so many memes about him being like, why is he still with us? It gives me a headache how funny that Snatch Game was. Also, I'm so happy about this being like Tita Baby's episode because not only did she do well in the challenge, they were giving her so much nuggets of appreciation. Because I feel like especially now, across the entire franchise, I think it's becoming very younger queen-centric. Tita Baby just deserves all the love this episode. And you know who also deserves some love? John Fedellaga as Angel Locsin. Angel Locsin is a renowned Filipino award-winning actress, okay?
Naintindihan mo yan, Jel?
Sa tagal natin sa industriya, Tito Boy, witness ko dyan sa career ko.
She has done so many movies, she has done so many TV shows, and she's known for her mannerisms that John Fedellaga perfectly captured.
Lakas sa'yo, Nicole! Akin lang! Ang asawa ko, Nicole!
Ayan. Angel is really popular as an actress for being the kind, very down-to-earth, very real kind of girl. She's your girl's girl, but she's also this big superstar in the Philippines. Angel Locsin is the poster girl for being so successful, but still very approachable. And John kind of captured that in a way that's still very glamorous. I think it's pretty clear that John is such a big fan, so I don't think it was hard for John to pull out all those references, but the execution.
Ayun na, ano yan?
So for John to just randomly go into that character was so funny. That's her bread and butter, and she's really good at it. And John just encapsulated it in such a funny drag Snatch Game performance. And kudos, mama. From one angel, we're going to another angel. The angel that won this Mother Tuckin' Challenge. I'm talking about Angel as Maria Clara. So who is Maria Clara? In the Philippines, our national hero is a man named Jose Rizal. We've talked about him before, so if you guys want to watch that video, go ahead. Now, Jose Rizal is a great writer, and two of his novels are very, very important educational texts for us. The two novels, Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo, are very important books in Philippine history and culture. And that's where the Maria Clara character comes from. This character is kind of the symbolism of the traditional Filipino woman. Very demure, very mindful, very quiet, soft-spoken, very damsel in distress. Not that that's a bad thing, but in the novel, she's the representation of the victimization of the Philippines as a country. And I think the reason why Angel Snatch Game won was not only because it was funny, but I think it was a commentary. Leave it up to trans women, of course, to have a very intelligent commentary on womanhood in the Philippines.
Ang Maria Clara sa modernong panahon ay pwede maging sexy. Maging sex positive.
Correct.
Because this image of Maria Clara is just one facet of being a woman. There's so many layers to being a woman, and the comedic journey that the Maria Clara took in the Snatch Game was such a perfect display of that. From the very demure to the very sexual. It was such a funny journey. Like, she got naked, girl. She was in her underwear. Angel, I do think, got lucky that she was seated next to Baron Geisler. So them doing all those dirty stuff was so perfect. So if you ever hear like Filipinos say like, oh, that's very Maria Clara, that's our version of like very demure, very mindful. A funny repeating gag is when Maria Clara catches herself. She's like, paumanhin. Paumanhin. That is a very formal old Tagalog word to mean, forgive me, pardon me. So kudos to Angel, and kudos to the rest of the queens this season, because that was a Snatch Game to remember. Jiggly did say that the physical comedy of them individually and as a unit worked together, and it did. Like towards the end when everyone was just standing up and going crazy. I think I've said before that this season of Drag Race Philippines in particular is making it seem like Drag Race might be the franchise that is setting new standards in the Drag Race universe. I see a lot of posts from non-Filipinos who are obsessed with the franchise because they say that Drag Race Philippines is paving its own way, and it really, really is. This episode is one of those moments where I'm like, that might actually be true, because this Snatch Game was insane. So I really hope that through this video, you guys are able to actually appreciate how funny it is to us Filipinos who understand everything, because this was on another level. This is what Filipino drag is. If there's one bad thing, is because the Snatch Game was so amazing, it kind of overshadowed the runway because the category was fabulous. Gosh, with the win. And there were a lot of really, really good looks, but I think John Fedellaga won the runway this episode. That was a fabulous pink number. Oh my gosh, it was really, really sexy. And yes, very, very Victoria's Secret. Oh, by the way, Karen told Mick Chanel that she has good feelings about the look because she can relate. Because Karen, aside from being a drag race judge, is actually the first openly trans woman to be an anchor on Philippine primetime news. We have a video about that. Check it out. And Karen also had a lot of insights for the queens in Snatch Game because she is also an impersonator. She got really popular because she was impersonating this really famous news anchor, Karen Davila.
I have to say, and I am honored that she's here today, TV host and actress Jervy, popularly known as Kalad Karen.
Your twin sister!
My twin sister.
That's how she became Kalad Karen. I mean, the dolls just ate it up tonight, okay? The bottom two this week was Jquinn and Zymba Ding, which I feel like that was a fair bottom two. I was kind of scared for Jquinn because we all know how Zymba can pull it when it comes to lip syncing because she lip synced for the win in episode 1. And Jquinn did give a really good fight, but Zymba just came in like a wrecking ball. And in true Filipino drag, she had so much surprises, aka pasabog. And so unfortunately, Jquinn, her time was up. I do like how the Jquinn storyline for this season kind of wrapped up because I know that Jquinn isn't getting the greatest reaction online right now from the fans, but I kind of know as a viewer that it was coming from somewhere. You know, she did seem like she was not emotionally aware. She wasn't the most emotionally attuned queen, I would say. And I'm glad as a viewer to have heard that it was coming from anxiety, where sometimes people cope with like word vomit. Sometimes you just say things without a filter. I do appreciate that that's how it was laid out this episode. I think that the edit this season for Drag Race Philippines is very, very sympathetic to the queens, which is a great development for Drag Race Philippines specifically. But at the same time, I think for the entire franchise, there's so much going on when the queens come out and just agree to be on this program. What the show could do is really balance it out by presenting the queens as authentically as they can, but also with heart.
Poso pa rin. Can I get an M up in here?
That was an amazing Snatch Game episode, and I do hope that through this video, you understand more why that Snatch Game was so fabulous. But also, you learn so much more about Filipino pop culture because that's what we promised you, to bring Filipino pop culture to the world. And we've got a lot more in store. We've got another DragSplaining next week. So if you don't want to miss that, subscribe to our channel, SISNE POP. Like this video, leave a comment, show us some love, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-boo!